What's going on? Just wanted to come on today and chit chat a little bit about um, just some of the things that are constantly running through my mind, what has happened to me, and the things that I've endured. Thinking back on all the people that were involved, family members, lots of family members, lots of people that I know, I grew up with. Bits and pieces of things that took place, and that connects with each other and connects with what has happened to me. I literally have family members participating in trying to have me sex trafficked. I mean, they did. They accomplished it, and they benefited from it. Um, but there were a lot of people in my family involved, working with the police, working with the FBI. Oh yeah, FBI's involved. Absolutely. I remember when this first started happening to me. It was about 3 years in. When I was first assaulted, it was in 2011. I was living in a different state, and when I moved, it stopped because I moved up near some family members, and I was still being gang stalked. I was still being tampered with, but I wasn't being raped. It didn't happen until I would say maybe a year, 6 months to a year in after I'd moved. And it was so funny because like I had siblings and family members that did not want me to live around them. They didn't want me to be close to them or to be around them. And I've always had a very stormy relationship with my family, and you know very weird personalities and attitudes and behaviors, things that I just never really got with, never understood. And so it just kind of became one of those things where you're just like, oh, well, that's just how that so and so is, or that's just how so and so is, or whatever. But I remember my mom was sick, and I was trying to transition and move up to the state where she was so that I could be near her and spend more time with her because she was about 400 miles away from me. And I didn't have a car at that time. So I was really trying to make time to go see her. She was really, really ill, really sick. And I couldn't get anybody to help me. Now, mind you, I've got lots of family, a lot of family. None of them are married. Only the men, in the family have children, have a child. People have really good jobs, vehicles, very steady, stable type of life. And I couldn't get anybody to help me move, to help me with anything. And when I finally did, um, I had to transfer in my job where I was being heavily gang stalked. And that was a whole uh, circus within itself. And when I finally got it all together, um, my apartment wasn't going to be ready for a couple of weeks. And so I needed a place to stay. And my sisters did not want me to stay with them. They did not want me to live with them for 2 weeks. And that's kind of how it's always been, like since all this began. Like they just did not want me around and want me in their environment. And I didn't get it. I was like, what's the big deal? Like, well, I ended up getting it, obviously. When you're having somebody raped and violated and you've pushed them into some sort of unsavory business like prostitution, sex trafficking, you don't want to be associated with that. You don't want to be around when, the demons come calling for that service, you know. And it was all sorts of things that happened like that was really telling as to who all was involved. And the if I got to naming off, it would just be a shit show. And they really had no shame. I was going through so much. I was just fighting so hard to combat the things that was happening to me that I didn't have the time then to sit and really connect the dots. But I remember they kept moving me around like checkers on a board. Kept moving me around, kept forcing me into these situations where I was having to move from one place to the next. And I remember I was living with one of my family members, and this person was being manipulated and coerced to harm me. And some things transpired, and this person ended up having to go to jail. And I was in the apartment that we were in by myself, and it was fine. I was taking care of the bills. It was not a big deal. I was working, and I was safe. I wasn't being assaulted. I was still being stalked, but I wasn't being assaulted. I could lay down and rest. And I had all these people in my family trying to disrupt that. One of the main ones that was involved, my younger sister, she was working hard, trying to make sure that safety that I had was taken away. So she got together with one of the Jehovah's Witness ex-elders, and who was living in the same city as I was at that time, and sort of coercing and working with him, trying to get him to get me to come stay with him so that they could all have access to having me assaulted for money, so they can get that money. And so she pops up out of nowhere. I hadn't spoken to her verbally or even seen her in about 3 years. And 2 of those years was me living in the same state and city as her, right down the street, no less. But when I left, and I was, in a position where I might be able to escape what they were trying to plan for me, she popped up out of nowhere, and was trying to play this game of like she wanted to talk and wanted to apologize for the things that had happened. And I was like really fucked up about it, because I was like, how the fuck did you know where I was working? Because I hadn't talked to her in 3 years. She popped